Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. It's okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. He asked me if it was wanted to raise it. I said yes. He thought it was going to. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Paramahamsa, Parijikacharya, Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Parijikacharya, Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Isopanisad Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Go ahead. Can you put Prabhupada's book up? It's Isopanisad, Text-8. The book is in there, you know that, right? And then after you do that, pull the curtains. Okay, thanks. Ah, Krishna knows how to pull the curtains. You can pull the curtains. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You have to open the door. Push the door way open. Om Namo Bhagavate way. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 25th day of November 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Sri Isopanisad, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are beginning mantra number 8. Before we begin, I have to tell you something about this mantra. If you look closely, you see it seems to be 5 lines there. But there aren't. There are 4 lines. The last line is extra long, more than just 1 syllable. Like 4 syllables or 5 syllables. So just be careful when we get to it. You'll see it's odd. And that's the way the Upanishads go sometimes. Okay. Saparyagat chukkamakayam avranam asnavidam shuddham apapa vidham Kavi Manishi Paribu Swayambur Yata Tatyato Tantata Tatchasvati Bhaksamabhyaha. Okay. Sorry. Saparyagatchukkamakayam abranam Asnavidam shuddham apapa vidham. Kavi manishi paribhu swayambhu. Yata tatyato than vidadhat shashvatibhyak samabhyaha. Yata tatyato saparyagatchukamakayam abranam. Asnavidam shuddham apapa vidham. Kavi manishi paribhu swayambhu. Yata tatyato tan vidadhat shashvatibhyak samabhyaha. No. Yata tatyato. Yata. Okay, I'm sorry. Righty? Does anyone want to lead? Saparyagatchukamakayam abranam. Asnavidam shuddham apapa vidham. Kavir manishi paribhu swayambhu. Yata tatyato tan vidadhat shashvatibhyak samabhyaha. You're up. Saparyagatchukamakayam abranam. Asnavadam shuddham apapa vidham. What's wrong with that? Asnavadam shuddham apapa vidham. Kavi manishi paribhu swayambhu. Yata tatyato. Yata tatyato. No, yata tatyato. Yata tatyato tam vidadhat shashvatibhyak. Don't even try. I will read the synonyms. Now the good news is that this is the most difficult verse in the Isopanisad. The bad news is that since these purports are so long, we're going to be chanting this one for the next couple of weeks. Saha, that person, Paryagat, must know in fact, Shukram, the omnipotent, Akayam, unembodied, Avranam, without reproach, Asnavidam, without veins, Shuddham, antiseptic, Apapavidham, prophylactic, Kavihi, omniscient, Manishi, philosopher, Paribhuhu, the greatest of all, Swayambhuhu, self-sufficient, Yata tatyataha, just in pursuance of, Artan, desirables, Vyadadhat, awards, Shasvatibhyaha, immemorial, Samabhyaha, time. Translation. Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. Before we read this purport, I'm going to read the translations up to this point, so we get an idea of the context, since we're only doing this once a week. Okay. So we'll begin with the invocation, just the translation. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. First verse, first mantra. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. 3. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. 4. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place, he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. 5. The Supreme Lord walks and he does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. 6. He who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. 7. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? In the present verse, such a person must actually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, and the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desires since time immemorial. And Srila Prabhupada's purport reads, part of it anyway, here is a description of the transcendental and eternal form of the absolute personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is not formless. He has his own transcendental form, which is not at all similar to the forms of the mundane world. The forms of the living entities in this world are embodied in material nature, and they work like any material machine. The anatomy of a material body must have a mechanical construction with veins and so forth. But the transcendental body of the Supreme Lord has nothing like veins. It is clearly stated here that he is unembodied, which means that there is no difference between his body and his soul. Nor is he forced to accept a body according to the laws of nature, as we are. In materially conditioned life, the soul is different from the gross embodiment and subtle mind. For the Supreme Lord, however, there is never any such difference between him and his body and mind. He is the complete whole, and his body and his mind, body, and he himself are all one and the same. In the Brahma Samhita 5.1, there is a similar description of the Supreme Lord. He is described there as Satchidananda Vigraha, which means that he is the eternal form, fully representing transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss. As such, he does not require a separate body or mind, as we do in material existence. The Vedic literature clearly states that the Lord's transcendental body is completely different from ours. Thus, he is sometimes described as formless. This means that he has no form like ours, and that he is devoid of a form we can conceive of. In the Brahma Samhita 5.32, it is further stated that with each and every part of his body, he can do the work of the other senses. This means that the Lord can walk with his hands, accept things with his legs, see with his hands and feet, eat with his eyes, etc. In the Shruti mantras, it is also said that although the Lord has no hands and legs like ours, he has a different type of hands and legs by which he can accept all that we offer him and run faster than anyone. These points are confirmed in the 8th mantra through the use of the words like Shukram, omnipotent. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Shri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So there's a progression here. These verses leading up to Text-8 kind of provide a qualification by which we can then know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead. We begin with this invocation, this famous invocation, Om Purnamadak Purnamidam. This word Purnam appears again and again in the verse. Om Purnamadak Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. So Prabhupada picks up on that word complete. Purna means complete. And the idea is that Krishna is complete. He has to be complete because everything that be has emanated from him. So whatever there is in existence starts with him. So he's the complete source, he's the complete whole. But then it makes the interesting point that when he expands or creates, say, this phenomenal world, because he expands into the spiritual world, which is eternal. Phenomenal world kind of comes and goes. Everything material has a beginning, middle, and an end, but spirit has no beginning or end. It's just eternal. So whatever he expands as, this material world is also complete. It has a complete arrangement for the material life of the beings who live here. All these different species of life have their food, they have their shelter, they have their means of defense or flight or fight. And there is also a complete process that's been given to us to get out of this world and go back home, back to Godhead. So if you read this purport, you see Prabhupada again and again repeating this word complete. That's the theme. And that's the introduction. So that's the goal of the whole Isopanisad. That's the Isha. He's the Supreme Personality of God, the controller. Isha means controller. So then he describes that the root cause of our problem here is that we're claiming things to be ours that really aren't ours, because everything emanates from Krishna. So he owns everything. Our role in this world, we're a minority. Most of the living entities are in the spiritual world, but we chose to come here, is to try to engage as much of the material energy in the service of the Lord again, reform our consciousness, and then go back there. So first we have to understand that everything is controlled and owned by the Lord. This is a very radical statement. People don't want to accept that. The whole material energy is built around this idea of grabbing some of that energy for yourself, some land, some money, and controlling it and enjoying it. That's why there's so much struggle, because it's material. If I have something, you don't have that. Therefore, there's this constant strife. But the remedy is to live in this simple way of understanding everything belongs to the Lord, engaging as much as possible in His service. This is the principle called yukta vairagya. Detachment in yoga. That's what vairagya means, detachment. Renunciation may or may not include detachment, because you may be forced to renounce something that you want very much. But vairagya is the gold standard in yogic life. And that means to really become detached from the desire to have something. It may begin with tyaga. Tyaga means literally to give something up. And if you look in the dictionary, that's renunciation. I renounce my car. I renounce my, whatever it may be. My attachment to some drug. I'm giving it up, Now you're not detached right away, but you threw the drugs in the ocean. That's tyaga. Giving up, transcending, or actually being cured of the attachment, that's vairagya. You can see which one is more valuable. You may throw it in the ocean, but then the urge comes again and you find someone and buy some more. But if you really give up the attachment, you may be sitting in a room full of whatever drug it is, and you don't care. You're not going to have any. You don't have the attachment. That's what bhakti leads to. But it begins with the understanding that the Lord is in control of everything. And then he says you can live for hundreds of years this way, and you won't be bound by the law of karma, because you're not doing anything fruitively. Your desires are simply mediated by the Supreme. You're trying to do everything for Krishna. Then he mentions the killer of the soul. Now, of course, there's a caveat there. You can't actually kill the soul, but those who are doing things that are 100% against their spiritual life, they're sometimes called atmaha, the killers of the soul. Means that they're postponing for who knows how many millions of years, or whatever, their spiritual life, because they're completely blocking it out and are doing everything to destroy that. Krishna says in the did I read it? I read the purport, right? I did read the purport. Yeah. He says in the 11th canto, Nirdehamadhyam sulabham sadulabham, that this human body is a perfect boat to cross over the ocean of birth and death. And you not only have the boat, but you have the captain, the guru. And you have the favorable winds, which are Krishna's words in all these books that we read. They actually are all Krishna's words ultimately. Since Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Krishna. He wrote them all like that. Of course, Bhagavad Gita is obviously. So Krishna says, Maya anukulyena. Anukulyena means favorable winds. Not too strong, not too weak, going in the right direction. Those are favorable winds. So that's what he said. So you have all these facilities. You have the boat, you have the captain, you have the favorable winds. If someone doesn't cross over the ocean of birth and death with all these favored, then he's called Atmaha, killer of the soul. The killer of the soul, whoever may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So this is the lower planets. So that's the way this material world is set up. And then it describes the Supreme Personalities. He's swifter than the mind, can overcome all others running. That's mentioned in the purport we read today. The powerful demigods can't approach him, although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. So this description we need to understand who the Supreme Lord is. He walks, doesn't walk. In other words, he doesn't have feet like ours, but he can walk, or he can run. He's far away, but very near as well. He's within, with everything, outside of everything. And one who sees everything in relation to the Lord. Now this is called the first step in God realization. You read the second canto, and you see there's a description of one of the universal form, not the same kind of universal form that's in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But it's the universal form where you see the mountains, but these are the bones of God, of his external body. The sun and the moon, that's the eyes. The rivers are the veins. Now it says here he doesn't have veins. So in his spiritual body there's no veins. But in the material form, which is admittedly, right in the Bhagavatam, said to be imaginary, but it helps us to see God everywhere. He who sees everything in relation to the Lord sees all of it as parts and parcels. So this is a way of beginning to sanctify our vision, so to speak. Just like I was looking at this temple, we come here every day. It's it's very familiar. I've been here many years, and I realized that everywhere you go, there's an opportunity for service, practically. Even if you just walk into the temple and appreciate the deities, that's service. I don't think that's not service. But so many practical things, like you see me straightening things up, you know what I mean? It's all sacred. The patio, everything. It's all Krishna's energy. It's Krishna's internal energy. If we see it that way, it all becomes, this is why it's so important to live in a holy place. Remember, that's one of the 5 most important, potent spiritual activities. Chanting the holy name, associating with devotees, hearing the Bhagavatam every day, or hear Isho, but it's basically the same idea. And living in a holy place and worshiping the deity. So how fortunate we are, even a few days if you live here. It's very sanctifying. So you can see this as, an expansion, which it is, of Balaram. You may not know that Balaram expands into all this paraphernalia that we see. He's in charge of what is called the Sandini Shakti, which is the spiritual potency that produces all the things, so-called things in the spiritual world. Krishna's body, produces, perhaps not the right word, because that sounds like it didn't exist and then it exists. But that manifests eternally, So that's a great opportunity for us. As soon as you walk on the property, as soon as you open the door, everything has a special energy to it because it's all dedicated to Krishna's glorification and service. That's the idea. So that's how we're supposed to see. One who sees all living beings spiritual sparks in quality with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety? And then the verse we read today. So this is such a person who is developing this must factually know. The whole idea is to purify and purify and purify ourselves by the process of devotional service until Krishna really reveals himself to us. In the heart, externally, where you're seeing him more and more through his energy until and through your sincere service, finally he reveals himself in his personal form. That's the idea. Now, of course, we have the deity. The deity, he can reveal himself through the deity. There were so many instances, Lord Chaitanya's Leela, where the deity speaks. That would be shocking. Huh? He's Virahari speaking to us. Well, he's speaking. We're going to have class tonight. You're all welcome. He's going to give Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, it's Krishna's speaking. But really to hear, to really feel he's speaking to you, personally, that's revelation. So this description here, without veins, that always stuck out with me. He doesn't have a material body. This is the great fallacy of the Mayavadis, and that when the Supreme Brahman comes to this world, he takes on a material body. But that's contradicted right here in the Upanishads. Deha dehi vibhagoyam neshure vidyate kuchit. I remember memorizing that one line. Deha dehi. Deha dehi. The dehi is the occupier of the body. Dehi no smin yata dehe. The deha is the body itself. So there's definitely a difference between us and our body. That's like lesson number 1, right? You're not the body, Prabhu. Well, who am I? You're the soul in the body. But you can't say that about Krishna. He's solid soul, solid spirit. Deha dehi vibhago. Vibhago means difference. Na ishvare vidyate kuchit. One should know that never is there an instance where there's a difference between, for the Ishvara, the Supreme Ishvara, Krishna, between himself and his body. Now this is really important for us to understand, because that holds also for everything directly related to him, especially the name. The holy name of Krishna, especially one heard from a pure source and given from a pure source, it puts us directly in touch with Krishna. And it's mentioned here, we read, we'll read, how he's purifying. He's the purest of the pure. Just like we sing about the spiritual master, Patita Pavana, right? Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavana. Patita means the fallen souls, which implies corruption or impurity, especially impurity of the heart. Pavana means purifier. So one who purifies the fallen souls, he's uplifting them. And that's why those who have fallen become uplifted by being purified by the influence of the saints or by Krishna himself. So Krishna is the source of all that purification. And when we just like Chaito Darbana Marjanam, this is the first installment of chanting Hare Krishna. There's kind of progression there in Lord Chaitanya's famous verse at the beginning of Shikshastika. Chaito Darbata Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. So Chaita is your consciousness or your heart, and Darbana is a mirror. So the mirror of the mind or the heart is full of dust, accumulated over many, many lifetimes. So you can't see yourself. You can't see yourself as pure spirit, and you can't see Krishna there either, because the whole thing is occluded. So by the process of especially Harinam Sankirtan, powerful chanting of the holy name together, that quickly polishes that mirror, and you can understand, I'm spirit. I'm related to Krishna. So and as soon as you do that, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. Nirvapana means extinguishing. And Bhava is birth and death. Bhava really means to become, to change. And that changing is constantly going on with our external body. We get born, right? You grow, you're constantly changing. Eventually you get old, you get diseased, and you're dead. You die. So that's Bhava. And that's called a big fire. Mahadavagni. We're all burning in that fire, but we don't realize it. So that's Nirvapanam. As soon as you become purified, that's the first installment. And you can feel the liberation in the form of reducing attachments and involvement and disturbance from outside. Your consciousness becomes more impervious to the whips of the material energy. People insulting you or something, you're on Harinam insulting you. Who cares? Whereas before you say, are you kidding? You get either angry or you get depressed, one or the other. He says, who cares? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So that's it. That's a sign that the fire of material life is reducing. And there's two sides to the material. One is the anger and the fear and the loathing, and the other is attachment. The attachment. They work together. If you can become detached from the material things, trying to enjoy them, then you'll be much more able to tolerate all the whips. That's a fact. So that's Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, because Krishna is there in his holy name. He's purifying us and he's attracting us. It's not just a cleansing program, it's also an attraction. Because that attraction has to go somewhere. it's going to the material side. But when you're thinking of Krishna, because you're chanting his holy name, you're hearing the holy name, then he's attracting you. And everything about Krishna becomes attractive. His devotees, the deities, the service, especially the prasadam, that becomes even more attractive. So, one has to understand who Krishna is and these facts about him. Self-sufficient philosopher, fulfilling every desires in time immemorial. So, he fulfills even the materialist desires because they want it, and that becomes kind of the lesson. After so many births of trying to fulfill your material desires, losing the human form and going down, even getting more punishment, time wasted coming up through the species, eventually you, by the mercy of a devotee who seeks out, is ready to approach the materialists, and give them some clue in the form of a book, an invitation, or a smile, or Hare Krishna, whatever, mantra card. There's a contact. Krishna is reaching out that way. Otherwise, Krishna is in the spiritual world. He doesn't come here but once every day of Brahma, 8,640,000,000 years. So that's a long time to wait, to get Krishna's association. But he always leaves his books and his representatives, and they can give him also, just as Srila Prabhupada did. Because they're full of Krishna, Krishnamayi. Krishnamayi is a word that means composed of. There's a karunamayi, who's someone who's very, very compassionate. So they reach out, and what are they giving? What did Prabhupada give? He gave Krishna. He gave the philosophy that describes Krishna. He gave the books. He gave the knowledge. He gave the mantra. He gave the prasadam. He gave himself. And by his instruction, by his words, the temples were manifested. The deities were bought, and they were carved in the proper way, and everything is going on. And by that, it's all Krishna's desire being expressed through the heart and the words, especially of these pure devotees. So, Prabhupada is making the point here, again, as the verse does, that Krishna's existence is categorically different from ours. His body is purely spiritual always, whereas ours are purely material. It's just a machine. It says right in the Bhagavad Gita. Aishwarak sababhutanam videsher janatishchati brahmayan sababhutani yantrarudani mayaya. Prabhupada would love to quote this verse. The Ishvara, the Lord, is present in our heart. Sarvabhutanam hrideshe, in the area of the heart. O Arjuna, situated, tishtati. And these living entities are wandering. Brahmayan sababhut, are wandering throughout the universe, everywhere, on a machine, or different machines, made of the material energy. So this is just a very complicated machine. Who is telling me? Vijay, he knows some doctors, devotees, who said it's an absolute miracle that the body works at all, that we live from one second to another. It's just, everywhere you look, there's this amazing, complicated, just the circulatory system and the nervous system and the whole digestive system. They all have to work together, maintaining that temperature, 98.6. If you get too high, you got a fever, you're going to lie down. The whole thing is a proof that God exists. There's a huge intelligence behind it. It's not us. We didn't create it. Prabhupada says we don't even know how many hairs there are on our head, or how your digestion is working. Nothing. It's just going on. We take it for granted, But if you realize just a little bit how complex the whole creation is, so many different species, and the climate, now we're screwing up the climate, but it's because we can see what a careful balance it is. And now millions of birds, billions have died in North America over the last 20 years because of the agriculture, the imbalances, the death of the insects, whatever it may be. Human beings tend to, create a mess. When they're not Krishna conscious, the whole point, so much, is emphasized: simple living, high thinking. This little phrase. That simple living means, to tread as lightly as possible, to engage with this material energy on the material level, eating, sleeping, and all these things, as minimal. Right there in the Bhagavatam, the beginning, second chapter. Kamasanendriya priti, Labo jiviti. Your senses are not meant for sense gratification. Well, that seems what they want all the time, isn't it? Yeah, but that's not. If you want to, come to the point of being free from all pain and enjoying eternal happiness, then this is what you have to do. You have to give up this idea of sense gratification. So then what do? I have to eat something. Yes, you can get as much as you need for a simple life. Just keep body and soul together and be comfortable. But this exaggerated, this is not real civilization. So then what should I do? If I'm not trying to accumulate money and enjoy myself, then what should I do? Jivasya, you should live. Tattva jigyasa, for inquiring into the absolute truth. Where did everything come from? Who am I? How can I know that? How can I get reinstated? That's the questions. Not where is money? How can I invest? What degree can I get? That's not going to help you. Nato yashchaya karma bid. And he emphasizes, this is second chapter, first canto. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. And then he defines what that tattva is, Brahman Paramapna Bhagavan. And then the next few verses, it gives you practical means by which you can realize it. Centered on hearing and chanting. Hearing and chanting. That's our yoga process. That's how we can constantly stay in touch with Krishna and fill our minds with thoughts of the absolute truth. Not by going off and trying to meditate silently. So the Prabhupada is contrasting our appearance, our reincarnation again and again, with Krishna's appearance. We're forced, according to our karma. We're making our destiny at every moment now. And people don't realize, these people are rich, these people are poor, Yeah, because it's something they did in the previous life. And what you're doing right now is determining your future. Karmana daivanetya jantu deho bhapatye. Right in the third canto. The higher powers, people don't recognize, the demigods, the super soul, everyone's watching. There's complete surveillance. I remember when it came out, what was his name? Something Snowden? The guy who's in Russia? Does anyone remember that? What was his name? Edward Snowden. He worked for the NSA, and then he found out that they're having this massive surveillance program, monitoring all the phone calls and everything, which was they were not publicizing it. So he blew the whistle on that, and he was smart enough to get out of the country and went to Russia. He lived there now. But I, when that came out, there were all these news stories. There's something called a panopticon. You may not have heard of it. Panopticon is a kind of a crude attempt to keep track of every prisoner in a prison all the time. And I don't know if it was ever built to something, but there's a big eye, you see, that's looking into all the cells and everything, So I was thinking that's what they're trying to do. Sound familiar? That's the super soul. They're trying to imitate Krishna. Now why doesn't it disturb us that the super soul, God, is watching all the time? Because we know that he has our best interests at heart, right? But we don't believe that for the NSA. We don't believe that the government really has the best interest. So that's why they built all these things into the Constitution. No, you can't go into people's homes and just on a whim just invade and take all their papers and look through them. This is like back in the 1700s, I think, because that's what the government did back in England. There was no rules like that, So that's because you don't trust that the government really has your best interest at heart. They can be, wrong. But Krishna actually knows everything. Prabhupada's right in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, he says, we should remember this, that God is in our heart, and he knows everything we're doing and everything we're planning, But that's the first thing you forget. When you come to this material world, you come here in order to forget Krishna, to try to have a life separate from Krishna, to imitate. But in order to do that, which you actually, it's out of bounds, right? It's illegal, according to God's law. You have to delude yourself into thinking there is no God, or if there is, he's far away, he won't see you, whatever, craziness. So Krishna consciousness is just the opposite, meaning that we want to know what God wants us to do, and try to do that as best as possible. And we try to remember him as far as possible. That's the whole idea, to come to the point of constant remembrance. But you can't come to that point unless you are determined to decrease your selfish desires, independent of his will. Because as soon as you do that, Maya is there. It means Maya covers your remembrance, right? Maya means illusion. So if you're going to kick out illusion, then you have to face the reality. So the only way to be happy, if you're going to remember God all the time, is to be completely in tune with his will. You see the logic of it? Otherwise, psychologically, you automatically want to forget. So that's so when Krishna comes here, he comes. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita: "Ajopi san abhyayatma bhutanami shadopi san prakatim swamadhishtaya sambhavam atma mayaya." The key word atma mayaya. By my will, although I am unborn, and my body never deteriorates, bhutanami shad, and though I am the Lord of all beings, I still appear millennium after millennium by my internal energy. In other words, Krishna's sweet will is why he comes here. That's not true for us. We're forced to leave this body, we're forced to take another body. We're in a prison house here. We're forced. So to get out of it, we need to cultivate this knowledge. Prabhupada quotes the Brahma Samhita. Very important verse, the first verse of the Brahma Samhita. Isharak Padama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. There's so much right in that verse. This is a realization verse of Brahma. He meditated, and then Krishna revealed himself to him. Then he sang the Brahma Samhita beginning with this verse. Who is the Supreme Ishvara? Krishna. Ishvara Padama Krishna. What kind of a form does he have? Satchidananda. Eternal form of bliss and knowledge. He has no beginning. I have a beginning. Said Brahma. He was born on the lotus flower. We all have a beginning. We're born. He has no beginning. Anadir. He is the beginning of all. He's the source of everything. Anadir, Adir. And he has pastimes. He's not just an official up there. Govinda. He's the pleaser of the cows and the senses. In other words, he has his own land where he's paradise. And Sarvakarana Karanam. He's the cause of all causes. Whenever I hear that, I always think of my working with philosophy conversations. There's a book out. Prabhupada, he wanted to hear these Western philosophers and respond to them. So I think it was Thomas Aquinas. They call him Saint. Saint Thomas Aquinas, very, very intelligent theologian, and he came up with various proofs of God. And one of them was that everything requires a cause, right? And that cause is an effect of some other cause, previous cause. Just like you could say, the effect of our parents, But they themselves have their own parents, back. So when you come to the uncaused cause, that's God. He's the cause of everything, but he himself is not caused by anything else. He just is. And that's Sarvakarana Karanam, the cause of all causes. You see? So it's Aquinas had that right, but where are you going to, what about the form? What about the pastimes? You can't reach understanding of those things on your own, no matter how smart you are. It has to be revealed to you due to your humble service. And that's the lesson Lord Chaitanya is teaching again and again in Krishna's teaching. So that's here. So he's describing Krishna's special body, everything. He can do anything with any part of his body. He can, just like we offer food to Krishna, we offer the bhoga, confident that we prepared it with devotion, and here it is, we're offering the prayers, please accept it. So how does he accept it? How does he eat it? It's still there when they take the plates off. You leave the altar, bow down, wait, then you come back out, it's still there. So how did he eat it? By looking at it. He can just look at the offering and he could see the devotion there and he accepts it, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita. And sometimes, as Prabhupada says, in rare cases, he actually eats it. There's a nice pastime in the CC. Who is it? Raghupati? I forget. Yeah, there's a child. Yeah, his father went somewhere and he told his son, I'll make the offerings and make sure that the Lord eats, So the child, he didn't know, He was thinking he's supposed to eat. He's supposed to consume it like I do. So he was praying, why haven't you eaten? You should please eat. So the deity, his father came back, there was nothing on the plate. Said, what, you didn't make the offering? Yes, I made the offering, and he ate it. And his father was amazed. They had him do it again, and it happened again. So that's the deity will react specially sometimes like that. He'll even walk, there's a Sakshi Gopal, and talk. Okay, so that's the end of the second paragraph here. Then it's time to, unless we have urgent question, any questions on these points? We'll resume this next Monday. Tonight we have Bhagavad Gita class, and tomorrow another Bhagavatam class, hopefully by Dharma Setu. Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Hare Bol. And we can pray that some of our other members are. So there was a nice translation of the first verse of the Krishna Kripa Stava. I think it's a sung by a male parrot in the Govinda Lilamrita. It's an amazing book, written also by Krishnadas Kaviraj much earlier when he was younger. So those verses are actually in a song book that was put out called More Vaishnav Songs. I don't know if we have that in the ashram or it's in the, and it's in the database. So anyway, I was inspired by that song and the corresponding song to Radharani to put it all into a poem. So that verse we heard this morning, here's the poem. It's a prayer for service to Nanda Nanda's lotus feet. Yeah. Okay. I told it to you. The Sanskrit I can do. Ambudanjan nindanilandindikandi dambada kunkamojad arkabijit angshadivya dambada Shimadangi charchitin to pitanakta chandana swangvidasi dostume saballavendra nandana. Okay, I've got my poetry file here. I'm sorry? That's the male parrot. Okay, I've got it here. I'm just going to search these words and then I'll give you this piece. Okay. Okay. His dark complexion mocks mascara, sapphires, and the blackish cloud. His garments shine like reddish rising sun with lightning bolts endowed. With sandal paste enhanced with camphor are his handsome limbs replete. May Nanda Sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. One more. Upon his cheeks his shark-shaped earrings dance with quintessential grace. The pride of countless moons and lotus blooms is shattered by his face. The gopis bind his heart with hidden love that's perfect and complete. May Nanda Sun bestow on me the service of his lotus feet. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Her gold complexion steals. Kunkamakta kanchanabja gavahari gaurabha pitanachitabja gandakirti nindisodabha ballavesha sunasava vanchitati sadika mayamatma parapadmadasa dastu radhika. Her gold complexion steals the pride of golden lotus tinged with red. Her fragrance mocks the scent of lotus bloom with saffron powder spread. Her skill in satisfying Sri Hari is perfect and complete. May Radhika bestow on me the service of her lotus feet. Just write me. Email, I'll send you my poetry file. You can learn all these